The Magnificent Seven is a remake of the original movie, The Magnificent Seven from 1960, and this one stars Denzel Washington, Chris Pratt, Veincent D'Onofrio, Ethan Hawke, and 3 other actors that are very good but have complicated names. And it is directed by Antoine Fuqua. Now, to preface this review, I need to let you know on the fact that I am a massive Western fan. I grew up on Westerns, I love them. To name a few of my favorites, the Coen Brothers' True Grit that came out a few years ago, also The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, A Fistful of Dollars for a Few Dollars More, Once Upon a Time in the West, The Magnificent Seven from 1960. I mean, I see just about every Western that comes out. I didn't see The Hateful Eight, but I saw Django and I saw 3:10 to Yuma. I like Westerns. Just look at my room. Yeah, so I was very, very intrigued to see this new Magnificent Seven remake, and so, let's talk about it. Positives first. The cast. Alright, now, all 7 of them are really great, but the standouts have got to be the obvious ones. I mean, they're the most, I guess, advertised ones. Denzel Washington and Chris Pratt. Yeah. Denzel Washington's character is essentially the lead in this movie. He's kind of the one who gathers up all of the 7 guys, and I'm going to tell you, he is awesome. He's probably the most developed character in this. He's the essential hero. I mean, he's badass. That's what I'm saying. Like, if I were to walk into a bar and get into a fight with someone, I would not pick on Denzel Washington in this movie. And Chris Pratt's character is just, he's the comedic relief. That's generally speaking what Chris Pratt is in his movies, but he's extremely charismatic. He's funny. He's really, really, really cool. Sharpshooter, whole 9 yards. He's, outside of Denzel Washington, I cared for him the most out of the 7 guys. And also, I gotta say, it was pretty cool to see Ethan Hawke in a role like this. He was very charismatic. He was a fairly complex character. And I mean, he had this big mustache goatee. He looked like he had served in the Civil War, which I actually think his character did. Pretty cool. And another big positive for this movie has got to be the chemistry between the characters. All 7 of these guys, just when they're in a room together talking, it's so much fun. They're really funny, all charismatic, very different. It's just a lot of fun to see these guys talk and interact. It's extremely entertaining. Because they're all, like I said, really cool. I got to mention that the character introductions for each of these 7 are all very, very, I guess they won't be iconic, but they're memorable. Especially Chris Pratt, Denzel Washington, Ethan Hawke's character, and also the Chinese dude with the knife. Really, really cool stuff. But probably the biggest positive for the Magnificent Seven has got to be that this is an absolutely great, great Western action adventure. Like, that's what it is. The action is incredible in this movie. It's thrilling, adrenaline-fueled, whole 9 yards. It's just the Western shootouts, man. They are pretty darn magnificent. And if you are wanting to go to a movie with a bunch of friends to just go and see a great action movie, this is the movie for you. You will have a ton of fun. A ton of fun. I highly recommend it for that. I mean, if you just want to have a fun time, this is your movie. But now I've got to talk about the negatives, because there actually are some. About an hour ago, I went and revisited the original Magnificent Seven from 1960, and I've got to say, it is a far superior movie, like, in almost every way. For example, one of my biggest problems with this new movie is the villain in it. He's extremely one-dimensional. He's kind of over the top as far as he's got like this nervous kind of way about him. And he's just like, he's very one-dimensional, and you just don't really, you're not that scared of him, all right? And in the original Magnificent Seven, Calvera, he's an extremely well-developed villain. You see him a lot. He's charismatic. He's got a lot to his character, and you understand him. It's just, he's a better developed villain than this new one, who's just kind of there for probably a total of 5 scenes that aren't too long or memorable. And to me, that's kind of a big flaw. And also another kind of big flaw that I have with the movie is the story. Now, the story, I mean, it's very similar to the original story, except for where in the original I actually cared about the town that they were trying to save. I actually cared about the people because there were actual characters that had big parts in the movie and in the story. This one, they're just kind of there. You only really care about the 7. You don't really care about what the 7 are doing for these people because you don't really care that much about the people. I mean, I noticed that it's not like you don't care at all, but you're not like there's no one to really grasp onto that you really like a lot. I must say, I do apologize for the lighting and how dark it's getting. I have a sunroom and usually it has good light, but we have a thunderstorm coming because it's Oklahoma. But back to the review. Also, another flaw that I found with the story was that this remake kind of took out all of the I guess, like the deep themes from the original. They're not really in this movie. This movie is much more of just a fun action movie. There's not really a deeper message to much of it. I mean, they do have some of that, for sure. I mean, it still has an identity. But if you're looking for a Western or a movie that's overall like more dramatic, more memorable, emotional, the original is far better, far superior. And also, I must touch on why the action is it's awesome. It's awesome. I thought that the Magnificent Seven themselves were like, they would never miss, and it kind of got annoying to the point where I was like, okay, you're not superheroes. Like, I don't care how good of a gunman you are. You can't hit him. Not that way. No. But I mean, that's not really a big deal. Overall, the action is totally worth it. I mean, it's really worth seeing. Like, if you're into westerns and western shootouts, it's fantastic. I mean, the original actually still holds up, I think, as far as the action goes. It's still very impressive even to today, but the action is kind of a step up in this movie for sure. Oh, and just a nitpick, the actual ending of this movie, it's just like a little tag. It seemed like it was tagged on this very last scene, where they just basically had to say that the 7 guys were magnificent. It came off really cheesy. They should have ended it right before there, when a few of the characters, I won't specify which ones they are, but they kind of ride off, not into a sunset, but into the countryside. They should have just cut it there and then not added on this kind of cheesy thing about how they're magnificent. I don't know. It annoyed me. But I mean, look, is the Magnificent Seven, the remake, worth it? Absolutely. I think if you want to go have a fun time at the theater, it's just a fun movie with lots of charismatic characters and all that stuff, it is for you. It is a lot of fun. It's a great action movie. I recommend watching the original if you want to see a movie that is, there's more to it. It's more impactful. Certainly, go watch the original. But this one is definitely worth seeing, and I'm glad they did a remake. I mean, they didn't necessarily need to, but it was certainly a worthwhile one, for sure. The Magnificent Seven gets a B+. So have you seen The Magnificent Seven or the original, The Magnificent Seven? If so, comment below and let me know what you think about either of them or both of them. And of course, if you like this video, please like it and subscribe. Tell your friends about the channel. And don't try to take over any little villages, okay? It's not nice, it's not cool, it's bullying, it's horrible. Although I must say, if God didn't want them to be sheep, He wouldn't have made them sheep.